Tarn was not a diplomat. He was a soldier, trained on Earth, built for battle and known for following orders. He had survived 3 campaigns on the outer colonies, fought off raiders on moon bases, and once held a position for 12 hours without food or rest. People called him quiet but reliable. He called himself lucky. Now, for the first time in his life, Tarn was being sent on a peaceful mission. The alliance between Earth and the Thalari Empire had been tense for years. The Thalari were tall, proud beings with golden eyes and skin like polished stone. They valued strength and honor above everything. After decades of cold silence, both sides agreed to open talks. A peace team of scientists, translators, and cultural experts was chosen. Tarn was assigned to them as a bodyguard. He didn't understand why. He was not a fan of long speeches or fancy meetings. But orders were orders, and he followed them. The capital of the Thalari Empire was a shining city built into cliffs and forests. Towers rose like stone trees wrapped in glowing vines. The air smelled of spice and whetstone. Birds with crystal feathers flew overhead. It was a strange place, but beautiful in its own way. Tarn stood at the edge of the main courtyard wearing his formal armor. It was cleaner than his usual gear, but still heavy and ready for trouble. His eyes scanned the crowd. Most of the Thalari were dressed in ceremonial robes. There were no weapons, but he didn't relax. Even a peaceful crowd could turn dangerous in a heartbeat. The humans were led to a large circular platform, carved from red stone. This was the moonrite ceremony, something sacred to the Thalari. It marked the opening of new bonds, the start of understanding. The queen herself would attend. Tarn had heard of her. Queen Vera. She was young for her kind, only a few decades old, but already respected by her people. It was said she was wise, calm, and never showed fear. Tarn wasn't sure he believed that. No one could lead an empire without being a little dangerous. The drums began to play. A line of Thalari guards stepped aside, and Queen Vera entered. She was tall, nearly a head above the other Thalari, and her skin shimmered with gold. Her eyes held a quiet strength, like someone who had seen storms and stood still through them. She wore a robe of deep green, lined with silver patterns. Her steps were slow, measured, graceful. As she reached the center of the platform, the wind picked up. A sudden gust, stronger than before. Something creaked above. Tarn looked up. A large stone lantern, part of the old ceiling structure, had come loose. It swayed dangerously, right above the queen. He didn't wait. Tarn ran forward, faster than anyone could react. He dove toward Queen Vera, grabbed her, and pulled her aside. The lantern crashed down a second later, smashing into the stone where she had been standing. Dust filled the air. People screamed. Thalari guards rushed forward. Tarn stood up slowly, helping the queen to her feet. She looked at him, shocked but unharmed. "I'm sorry," Tarn said quickly. "I didn't mean to break protocol. It was falling. I just reacted." Queen Vera didn't speak. Her eyes searched his face. The crowd around them had gone silent. The music had stopped. Even the birds had flown away. One of the older Thalari guards stepped forward, his face pale. "He has performed the rite of binding," the guard said. Tarn frowned. "What does that mean?" No one answered. Back at the guest quarters hours later, Tarn sat on the edge of his bed. Mira, the human translator, paced the room nervously. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" she asked. "I saved someone," Tarn said. "That's all." "Not someone," Mira replied. "The queen, and not just saved her. You pulled her from danger during the moonrite. That's a sacred ceremony. That act has meaning in their culture." Tarn leaned back, rubbing his eyes. "You're saying I broke the rules by not letting her get crushed?" "No," Mira said. "You didn't break the rules. You followed them, accidentally." Tarn looked at her, confused. Mira sighed. "According to Thalari tradition, when someone saves the monarch during the moonrite, it's a symbol of deep bond. A life claim. It's rare and it's sacred. You didn't just save her. You may have chosen her. Or she chose you. Either way, the people saw it." Tarn stared at the ceiling. "Great, so what happens now?" Before Mira could answer, there was a knock at the door. A Thalari messenger entered. "Queen Vera requests your presence," he said. Tarn stood up. "Let's get this cleared up." Mira followed him down the hall, whispering advice. "Be respectful. Don't say too much. Let her lead the conversation. And whatever you do, don't insult the ceremony." They entered a grand room filled with soft lights and strange hanging crystals. Queen Vera stood at the far end looking out a window at the glowing city. You came, she said, turning around. I didn't mean to cause trouble, Tarn said. She nodded. I believe you. There was a long pause. I am not angry, she continued. You saved my life. That is not something I take lightly. But our people, they will not see it as a simple act. They see it as fate. I don't believe in fate, Tarn replied. Queen Vera gave a small smile. Neither did I. Until today. He didn't know how to answer that. He stood quietly. Things will change now, Vera said softly. For me, for you, for both our worlds, Tarn looked at her. What do you want me to do? For now, she said, stay close. Do not leave the palace, and do not speak to the council yet. They will ask questions you are not ready to answer. Tarn nodded. Understood. As he left the room, he realized something strange. The queen had not looked afraid. She had looked curious, and that made him uneasy. He had come here to guard the humans. Now he was part of something bigger, and it was only the beginning. Tarn did not sleep that night. His bed was soft, the room quiet, but his mind was full of noise. He had faced battles, machines, and deadly traps, but never something like this. He had saved the queen. That should have been a good thing. Instead, he was now the center of a cultural mess he didn't understand. In the morning, he put on his uniform and stepped outside. 2 Thalari guards were waiting. They said nothing, only gave him a small nod and began to walk. Tarn followed them through long halls made of smooth stone and glowing patterns. They reached the royal chamber. The doors opened slowly and Queen Vera stood inside, facing a tall window. She turned as Tarn entered. I'm glad you came, she said. Tarn gave a short bow. You asked for me. Vera smiled a little. Yes, because now we must speak clearly. She motioned for him to sit. The chair was strange but comfortable. Vera sat across from him, her gold eyes watching his face. You are a soldier, she began. Trained to act in danger. That is what you did during the ceremony. Tarn nodded. Yes, that's all it was. But to my people, she said, it was something more. It was a sign of union. When a person saves the monarch during the moon rite, it is seen as a gift from the stars. A bond is formed. A sacred one. Tarn shifted in his seat. I didn't mean to form any bond. I was just doing my job. I believe you, Vera said calmly. But intention does not matter. The people have seen it. The council has accepted it. To refuse now would insult our customs. It could destroy the trust we are building with your kind. So what happens now? Tarn asked. You stay close to me, she said. For a time we act as if the bond is real. It will give both our peoples a reason to trust each other. Then when peace is strong, we may go our own paths. Or not, Tarn looked at her. You're calm about all this. I have trained for politics since I was a child, Vera said. Surprises are part of life. I do not fear them. I adapt. Tarn respected that. He nodded slowly. All right, I'll follow your lead. Later that day, news of the Queen's chosen consort spread across the city. Thalari citizens gathered outside the palace, holding glowing stones and singing songs of unity. Tarn watched them from the balcony beside Vera. He still felt like an outsider, but the people did not see him that way. They cheered when they saw him. Some even bowed. Mira joined him later, her eyes wide. You're famous now, she said. They're calling you the Starbound. Tarn shook his head. This is getting out of hand. I warned you their culture was different, Mira said with a small laugh. But I didn't expect this either. At dinner, Tarn sat beside the Queen in the grand hall. The food was strange, but not unpleasant. Dishes made of glowing fruits, soft meats, and steamed roots filled the table. The council members sat around them watching closely. Some smiled. Others whispered among themselves. Tarn kept quiet, only speaking when spoken to. He didn't want to cause more trouble. After the meal, Vera led him to the quiet gardens behind the palace. The sky above was full of stars. The air was cool and fresh. I must tell you something, Vera said softly. Something private. Tarn looked at her, concerned. Go ahead. I have felt changes, she said. In my energy. In my thoughts. Thalari do not form bonds with touch. We connect through intent and action. When someone forms a life bond, their body responds. Tarn frowned. You think the ritual actually did something to you? Vera nodded slowly. Yes, I went to the healers today. They say there is something growing. A new life. And it carries both of our signs. Tarn stepped back, stunned. Are you saying? Yes, Vera said. I believe I am expecting a child. And it is part human. For a long moment, Tarn said nothing. He didn't know what to think. I didn't know that was possible, he said finally. Neither did we, Vera replied. But ancient texts spoke of such things. Rare and long forgotten, a bond so strong it awakens the old ways of creation. Tarn sat down on a nearby bench. He rubbed his hands together slowly. I was just doing my job. I didn't mean for this to happen. I know, Vera said. She sat beside him. But now that it has, we must protect the future. The child will be a symbol. To some it will be hope. To others a threat. Do you want this? Tarn asked. Vera looked at the sky. I did not expect it. But now that it is real, I feel peace and fear both. But I will not turn away from it. Tarn nodded. Then I won't either. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the soft sounds of the night. Far away in the darker halls of the palace, not everyone was happy. A small group of Thalari council members whispered behind closed doors. This changes everything, one of them said. A child of two worlds. It could shake the balance, then we must act, said another, before it is too late. Plans began to form in the shadows. But in the garden, Tarn and Vera stood together, unaware of the danger building around them. They had started something neither of them had planned. Now they had to protect it, together. The days passed slowly, but tension was growing beneath the surface. Tarn stayed close to Queen Vera as instructed. Everywhere they went, Thalari citizens watched with curious eyes. Some bowed with respect. Others turned away without a word. Even without speaking their language, Tarn could feel the change in the air. Queen Vera continued her royal duties. She met with council members, listened to trade reports, and gave short speeches about peace and unity. Tarn stood behind her at every event, quiet and alert, watching for anything unusual. He wasn't just a guard anymore. He was part of something bigger. Mira visited him often to check on how he was handling things. She had noticed the same shift in the air. Some of the council members are not happy, she said one morning. They won't say it out loud, but they don't trust you. And they fear the child. Tarn looked away. I never asked for this. I don't even know if I'm ready to be part of their future. You already are, Mira said, whether you like it or not. That evening, Vera invited Tarn to the palace observatory. It was a quiet place high above the main tower. The ceiling was open to the stars and the walls glowed with soft blue light. She looked tired, but her voice remained strong. The council is divided, she said. Some of them support our union. They believe the child is a gift. Others think I have broken our traditions. They see the child as a danger. What about you? Tarn asked. I believe in peace, she said, and I believe in choosing the future, not fearing it. Tarn nodded. Then I'll stand with you. Vera looked at him. Even if it means standing against your own people one day? He didn't answer right away. I don't think it will come to that. But if it does, I'll protect the child. That's what I do. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then a loud sound shook the floor. An explosion. The tower shook. The lights flickered. Guards rushed into the observatory, weapons drawn. We're under attack, one of them shouted. Vera stood quickly. The lower chambers? Breached, the guard said. A group of armed rebels. They're inside the palace. Tarn grabbed his gear from the corner of the room. His old instincts returned fast. We need to move, now. Vera hesitated. We can't run. If I flee, they will say I'm weak. This isn't about pride, Tarn said. This is about survival. You're carrying something more important than a throne. Grawl, the queen's personal guard, entered the room. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with anger. There's a safe path under the palace, he said. Old escape tunnels. I'll lead the way. Tarn and Vera followed Grawl down narrow stone stairs. The lights grew dimmer as they moved deeper underground. Behind them, the sounds of battle echoed through the halls. Shouts, energy blasts, the clash of metal. They reached a hidden door, sealed with ancient symbols. Grawl placed his hand on the door. Only the royal bloodline can open it. The door clicked and slid open. Inside, the tunnel was narrow and dark. Old carvings covered the walls. The air smelled of earth and metal. We built these during the last war, Vera explained. A secret path to the old forest outside the city. Tarn walked in front, his weapon ready. How many rebels are there? Grawl spoke without looking back. At least 50. They planned this for months. They waited for the right moment. Why now? Tarn asked. Because of the child, Vera said softly. They think if they end me now, they can stop what's coming. Tarn's grip on his weapon tightened. Not while I'm still breathing, he thought. They walked for nearly an hour. The tunnel finally opened into a wide cave filled with glowing plants. Strange trees grew through cracks in the stone. It looked like something from a dream. "We'll rest here," Grawl said. "The city guard is fighting to take back the palace. If they win, we'll return. If not, we'll go to the mountains." Vera sat on a stone bench, her face pale. Tarn noticed she was breathing harder than before. "Are you all right?" he asked. "I'm fine," she said. "The energy in the air is strange. This place is old. It speaks to the blood." Tarn knelt beside her. "You need to rest. Let us handle the rest." Grawl stood watch near the entrance. Mira arrived minutes later, escorted by another guard who had escaped the attack. "I got your message," she said. "Earth Command knows what's happening. A support team is already on the way." Tarn felt a wave of relief, but it was not over yet. Suddenly, Grawl raised his hand. "Someone's coming." Everyone went silent. A soft sound echoed through the tunnel, slow footsteps getting closer. Tarn took his position near the entrance, weapon ready. Grawl joined him. Two shadowed figures appeared at the edge of the tunnel. They were not dressed like the palace guards. "They're rebels," Grawl said quietly. Tarn didn't wait. He moved fast, using cover and speed. Within seconds, the two rebels were down. Stunned, not killed. He didn't want bloodshed. Not if it could be avoided, Grawl nodded. "You move like a Thalari warrior." Tarn shook his head. "No, I move like a human soldier. But thanks." Back inside the cave, Vera stood up slowly. "You protected me again," she said. "Even now when danger follows every step." Tarn looked at her. "That's my duty." She looked at him carefully. "No, that's your choice." For the first time since this mission began, Tarn felt something shift inside him. This was no longer about orders or peace deals. This was about something personal. A bond had truly formed. And now there was no turning back. The spark had been lit and the fire was just beginning. The cave was quiet now, but Tarn knew it would not last long. The rebels had found them once. They would try again. Vera sat near the glowing plants, her hands resting on her knees. Her face was calm, but Tarn could tell she was tired. She had not slept since the attack. Still, she refused to show weakness. Grawl stood near the tunnel, watching the shadows. He had not spoken much since they escaped the palace. He was a loyal guard, and this betrayal hurt him deeply. Mira moved between them, checking messages from Earth on her communicator. "There is good news," she said. "Earth Command has sent ships. They will reach the outer orbit in 2 days." Tarn nodded. "We just need to stay alive until then." He turned to Vera. "We should move again before night." "This place is not safe anymore," Vera agreed. "There is an old temple in the forest half a day from here. My ancestors built it long ago. It was forgotten, but I know the way," Grawl added. "If we move before the rebels regroup, we might reach it without a fight." They packed what little supplies they had and began their journey through the old forest. The trees were tall and strange, their bark shining under the twin moons. Soft lights floated through the air like living stars. Tarn led the group, moving with care. Every step was quiet, every sound watched. He had trained for missions like this, moving behind enemy lines, guiding people through danger. But this was different. This time he was not just protecting a team. He was protecting a queen, a future, a child that could unite two worlds. As they moved, Vera walked beside him. "Your world is different from mine," she said. Tarn glanced at her. "Very different, yes. On Thalari, rulers are born into duty. But I wonder, do humans choose their leaders?" Tarn thought for a moment. "Sometimes. We vote, we argue. We make mistakes, and sometimes we fix them." Vera smiled softly. "Perhaps that is why your kind is strong. You learn from failure." They walked in silence after that, the path winding through thick roots and moss. By evening, they reached the temple. It was old, covered in vines and stone dust, but still strong. The roof was solid, and the entrance faced a small spring. Grawl checked the area. No signs of movement. "We can rest here." Inside, the temple was cool and quiet. The walls were covered in old carvings, scenes of Thalari history, great wars, peace treaties, a child holding 2 stars. Vera looked at the wall and placed her hand on the carving of the child. "My mother used to tell me stories about this," she said. "A child of 2 skies, born from fire and peace. I thought it was just a myth." Tarn stood beside her. Maybe some myths are waiting to become real. They rested that night. Grawl took first watch. Tarn sat near the door, his weapon close, eyes sharp, but he couldn't sleep. Too many thoughts ran through his mind. The mission, the attack, the strange bond that had formed between him and Vera, and the child. He had never wanted a family. He had never stayed in one place long enough to think about it. War had shaped his life. Duty had filled it, but now something inside him was changing. Suddenly, a sound broke the silence. A short beep from Mira's communicator. She jumped up and checked the screen. "Message from orbit," she said. "One of the human scout ships is near. They picked up rebel movement near the western ridge." Tarn stood at once. "That's close," Grawl stepped forward. "We need to move again. If they find us here, we'll be surrounded." But Vera shook her head. "No, I will not keep running." Grawl looked worried. "My queen, if they attack in full force, we cannot defend this place." "We don't need to defend it," Tarn said. "We just need to hold them off until the ships arrive." He looked at Mira. "Can you send our coordinates to the human fleet?" She nodded. "Yes, but it will take time." "Then we buy that time," Tarn said. Vera looked at him, her eyes calm. "And if we fall?" Tarn smiled. "Then we fall fighting together." That night they prepared the temple for battle. Tarn set traps around the area. Hidden wires, motion alarms, shock devices built from broken gear. Grawl trained 2 of the younger guards who had joined them. He taught them how to hold the line, how to wait for the right moment to strike. Mira worked on the signal booster, connecting it to the temple's old energy stone. Vera did not hide. She stood at the front of the temple, letting her people see her strength. She spoke to them with courage. "This is not just a fight for survival," she said. "It is a fight for the future, a future that includes both Thalari and humans." Her words lit a fire in their hearts. At dawn, the rebels came. Dozens of them, armed, organized. They did not wait. They charged the temple with full force. But Tarn was ready. His traps exploded with bright light, slowing them. His team held the entrance with skill. Grawl moved like a shadow, defending the queen without fear. Tarn fought with calm focus. He moved between enemies, never wasting a shot, never losing control, but the rebels kept coming. Mira shouted, "Signal is sent." "Earthships are on the way." Tarn nodded but kept fighting. Then from the sky, a deep hum filled the air. Lights appeared above the trees. Human dropships. The rebels looked up, confused and afraid. Beams of light landed around the temple and human soldiers stepped out, weapons ready. The rebels fled into the trees. Tarn dropped to one knee, catching his breath. His armor was scratched, his arm sore, but he was alive. Vera walked to his side. "You protected us again." Tarn looked at her. "I told you I would," she smiled. "And now we take back the palace." The sun rose slowly over the Thalari capital. From the sky it looked calm, but inside the city things had changed. The rebels were gone. Many had surrendered after the failed attack on the forest temple. Others had been captured by the human and Thalari forces working together. The people had seen what happened. They saw Queen Vera stand her ground. They saw the human soldier fight beside her. And now, for the first time, many began to believe in the future they had once feared. Tarn stood in the courtyard of the palace, looking at the building he had once entered as a guest. Now he stood as something more. The gates opened. Vera walked out with Grawl beside her. She wore royal armor made of silver and green stone. Her crown rested gently on her head and her eyes were steady. "The palace is ours again," Grawl said. "The last of the rebel leaders have been taken to the royal courts." Tarn nodded. "Good, but this isn't over." "Not yet." Vera stepped closer. "You're right. A child is coming. There will be more questions, more challenges. Some will still be afraid." "But you're not," Tarn said. "No," she answered softly. "I'm not." Later that day, the two stood in front of the Grand Council. The chamber was large and silent. Each council member wore traditional robes. Some looked proud, others nervous. Queen Vera spoke first. "Today I return not only as your queen, but as a symbol of change. You know what has happened. You know what is coming. The child I carry is not just mine. It belongs to a new path for our people." One of the older council members stood. "And what if this child brings division? What if it brings more war?" Vera looked around the room, her voice clear and strong. "We already faced war. The rebels tried to destroy us from within, but it was not the child that brought them. It was fear. Fear of change. Fear of something they did not understand. She paused. But fear is not our guide. Strength is, wisdom is. And this child will carry both, another council member stood. And the human? What role does he play? Tarn stepped forward. He wasn't good with speeches, but he spoke from the heart. I didn't come here to make history. I came to protect people. I never planned this, but now I won't walk away from it. He looked at the faces watching him. I'm not Thalari. I don't know your ways, but I know how to stand for what's right, and I will stand by her and the child. For a moment, the hall was quiet. Then one of the younger council members stood. I support the queen, and I welcome the child. Another followed, then a third. Slowly, the room began to shift. The vote passed. Vera's rule was confirmed. The future was accepted. Weeks passed. The palace was repaired. Streets were cleaned. The people returned to their lives, but now with stories of what had happened. Stories of courage. Stories of a human who had saved their queen not once but many times. Tarn walked the halls of the palace daily. He no longer wore full armor. Instead, he wore a simpler uniform. Still strong, still ready, but not a threat. He trained with the guards, shared human tactics, and even learned some of the Thalari fighting styles. He didn't try to act like a leader. He just did what he always did, stay ready and protect. Vera's stomach grew with time. The healers said everything was going well. The child was strong. A perfect balance of two worlds. One evening, as they sat in the garden, Vera looked at Tarn. You have changed since you arrived. Tarn looked at the stars. Maybe. Or maybe I just found something worth staying for. Vera smiled. You're part of this world now. I guess I am, he said. The day finally came. The palace was quiet. The air felt different. Tarn stood outside the healer's chamber. Graal stood with him, silent. Then the door opened. Mira stepped out with a wide smile. It's time, she said. Tarn entered the room slowly. Vera lay on a soft bed. Her face was tired, but her eyes were bright. In her arms she held a small child wrapped in golden cloth. The child had skin like polished bronze and eyes dark like Earth's night sky. Vera looked up. Meet her. Our daughter. Tarn stepped closer, his heart full. He looked at the tiny life, so small but so important. What will we name her? He asked softly. Vera answered. Hope. In both languages. She will be called Hope. Tarn nodded. It was the perfect name. Days later, the people gathered in the capital square. Vera stood on the high platform, holding the child. Tarn stood beside her. Human leaders had arrived from orbit. Thalari citizens filled the streets. This was not just a royal event. This was history. This child, Vera said, is proof that two paths can become one. That peace is not just words but life. That unity is possible. The crowd cheered. Tarn held back, not used to such attention. But when he looked at Vera and the child, he felt something strong. Not fear. Not pressure. Purpose. He had come to this world as a soldier. Now he was something more. A protector. A partner. A father. Far beyond the stars, other worlds began to take notice. If a human and a Thalari could build peace together, then maybe other enemies could do the same, and so the child named Hope became more than a daughter. She became a symbol of a new beginning, a bridge between two great powers, a light in the stars, and it all began with one soldier's simple act. He reached out, he saved a life and changed the galaxy forever.